So I may have had a few drinks. Then we engaged in a talk about our sex life, or lack thereof. We've had sex maybe 2 times in the last 7 months. We've been together for over 4 years. I asked about anything she'd like to try, any fantasies, kinks, etc. She said she had none. Then she asked about me. One thing I brought up was I thought it would be hot if we went out to dinner and she didn't wear any panties. I don't think that's too out there. I'd say that falls on the more vanilla side of fantasies. If you ask me, you may think different. Please tell me if that is the case. And I was out of line for saying it. Anyway, my gay fave proceeded to call me a pervert for saying it. I felt the soul suck right out of me, as well as my libido. How can I be with someone who calls me a pervert for verbalizing a relatively mild fantasy? I feel like I'm sick, like there's something wrong with me. Hello everyone. This is your reading time. Don't forget to follow us. This is the Reddit Times. Dragon Tatman saying, my ex had zero libido. I was with her 20 plus years. We split about a year ago. My new gay fave has a libido perfectly matched to mine. We've discussed different things we want to do to each other, and also how we aren't going to let this get old. You are not a pervert. My ex would call me the same thing, and worse. A common thing if I mentioned a fantasy was to be told go and find some slut. If you want to do those things, get out now is my advice. Other lobster saying, talk to her again and say it's not right to call you a pervert for something you may like sexual. It's judging you and puts a label on you. Say your fantasy includes her, and that is not perverse but healthy for a relationship. Alejandro P. saying, you're right that desire is pretty vanilla. Not sure what's wrong with your so, but you should get that looked at and maybe consider ending things if it can't be fixed. Keeping a relationship where we have sex on average once every 3 months is not something I would try hard to keep. But I digress saying, oh boy, her comment was rude, but I can see how someone with a very sex-negative upbringing would react that way. She may benefit from some therapy to unpack that. Given that you've invested for years in this relationship, I'd say it's worth it to see if she'd be open to the idea. If she's not open to the idea, really have a good think if this is the girl for you if she can't even discuss a vanilla fantasy in a mature manner. Indecision may saying, probably a very different situation, but I had 3-year relationship with a woman a few years back. She was amazing and wild. However, she would rather kill her family than go out without panties or shoes. Germs. Just throwing that out there for consideration. Ethical sadist saying, as a proud pervert, that is pretty vanilla and I would have a bigger conversation with her about the sex life. Sex isn't everything in a relationship, but it is a piece of it. I don't think I could stay with someone who has that big of a disconnect with physical intimacy. Angelaria Lastil saying, I'm going to go a little different than the group here. While I can't support name calling, I can understand being very uncomfortable with any kind of sex activity in public, especially if you consider women's clothing. I'm much more modest than average, and I have trouble with clothes that cover enough. I wouldn't want to go out in public without underwear because you move wrong, hit a breeze, things like that, and you're flashing everyone in the vicinity. I wear shorts under all my skirts and dresses because it's usually that bad. I would guess she had a mental picture of bending down to pick something up and flashing the restaurant and freaked. Still not okay to name call them. Christopher Kaba saying, "Okay, Rima, be blunt and honest, and I apologize beforehand if I offend you. Either sit her down and flush out literally everything or walk away completely." Allow me to explain. Onto the first point, your sex life. There are tons of reasons it might not be happening. She might not have enjoyed sex with you from the start but enjoyed your company. She might be cheating. She might have a mental issue or health issue that prevents her from having sex. She might be going through a rough patch. Point number 2 is rather obvious. You simply pack your bags and walk and find yourself a partner that wants to have sex with you. All I can advise is to simply sit them down and start pushing till you get an answer. And yes, I am very well aware that it isn't exactly the healthy option, but I don't really see another viable one with her shutting you down. Whatever Island's saying, move on. To times in 7 months is abysmal. You are not a pervert for wanting that at all. No panties, not a big deal. Doesn't mean she has to follow through with that. Might be something she's uncomfortable with. Doesn't make you a pervert at all. Calling you a pervert. She's rude and mean, and that crosses a line if it intended to hurt. You are completely normal and in no way strange for this suggestion. People make far more outrageous suggestions while remaining healthy and sound human beings. Giraffes are so cute saying, whether or not something is vanilla definitely just depends on the individual and their preferences. For example, I'd class not wearing underwear as pretty non-vanilla. A lot of people, understandably, aren't comfortable with the idea of not wearing underwear in public, and a lot of people would find it too exposing and risky. Others wouldn't find it to be a big deal. But, as others have said, the bigger issue here is of course her calling you a pervert and the lack of sex. If communication isn't working, and you both are unhappy, it's okay to throw the towel in. You'll both be happier for it in the long run. Good luck. Orchid Sanchikik saying, I'm so confused by her reaction. That's not pervert in any way, when talking about her fulfilling your fantasy. Now if you go around hoping to catch random women without undies, then yeah, I see her point, but that wasn't even the discussion though. Have a talk about sex overall with her. Does she even want it? Is there an issue that needs to be addressed? Performance issues, etc. No sex in 7 months is concerning. Wolfpacks 117 to first. Nothing wrong with you. She was pretty insensitive or had too much to drink herself. Best to have a talk with her and tell her how you felt about that. Hopefully it's just a misunderstanding, but it could be something worse. Bleaky Geek Swirls saying, not a pervert. That is very vanilla as well. Sex only 2 times in 7 months. That is way too little. Something is wrong here. You should be able to openly talk about anything with your so without judgment. If they don't want to do something, that is fine, but they shouldn't go calling you a pervert, especially for your requests. My husband has asked me some pretty out there things, but I did try them and now I like most of them. Rimming him, using toys on him, and recently he even asked me to pee in his mouth. I actually like water sports a lot. I didn't expect I would, but figured, well, I'll try it, not going to hurt me, and we'll see how we like it. We both ended up really liking it. Now we do it a few times a week. He likes to watch me pee as well, even if not on him, so he'll get down on his knees as I spread on the toilet for him to watch. Or he'll ask me to wear a skirt. And when I have to pee in public, he'll watch. It's fun and intimate, and it doesn't even involve sex or orgasmy. But it for sure brings a bond and intimacy and sexual tension for later. Conklin to 000 saying, I think it's time to back up. If this is where your sex life is at, there's probably problems in your relationship life in general. Start there. Are you guys doing okay? Do you still love each other? Is she okay with the lack of sex in your relationship? It might be time to try therapy if you want to work on this relationship, meaning both of you would have to want to do so. Spanx MC Banks saying, if you've had sex 2 times in the past 7 months, why would you bring up a fantasy? You should be working on the main issue, no sex, and saying that if I was at the point with my partner where I was having sex at that frequency, I'd be gone unless there was a medical reason why. Even if your partner was passive and not in need of sex as much as you should be able to do it a few times a month. Courier saying, everyone says this is vanilla, but some people are incredibly uncomfortable with public nudity. From her point of view, it could easily be interpreted as perverted because you seemingly like the fact that she's not wearing underwear around other people. If she considers sex a very intimate act, which a lot of people do, she could easily and justifiably find that to be a perverted fantasy. Misk 777 saying, I think the fact that you have only had sex 2 times in 7 months along with her reaction to a pretty common ask says that you guys are not compatible sexually. It's probably best to find someone who is on the same page as you. Red Lion 40 saying, damn, she called you a pervert over going commando. She must not use the internet much. With that kind of logic, sex would be what? Super perverted. That's not even vanilla bean. That's straight vanilla lol. I've seen some things I wish I could unsee several times. Yeah, with her it's up to you to decide what you want to do, man. Best of luck. Restraberry to 109 saying, dude, you guys had sex 2 times in the last 7 months and now she uses your fantasy to degenerate you to a pervert. Trust me when I say there are some bigger issues going on in your relationship, cause it sounds to me either she or you don't want to be with each other anymore. No one else to call saying, Jesus Christ, this isn't going to get better unless she gets some therapy for it. But that would require her admitting that she's the one with the problem. If she can't do that, either resign yourself to a sexless relationship or bite the bullet and leave. You'll never feel fully fulfilled with her, and resentment will only build up over time. Fenwick saying, assuming you want to stay in the relationship, I would suggest couples therapy. She obviously had some issues. and I expect help communicating would be good for both. She needs to understand how hurtful what she said was. Both of you need to work out what is an acceptable sex life in your relationship. Some people will say 5 times a week is too little, others that 5 times a year is too much. What is right in your relationship has nothing to do with what anyone else has to say about it, just what works for both of you. It is also possible that you will find that you are not sexually compatible. The therapy should help you figure that out, too. Smoke Serpent saying, you are in a sexually mismatched relationship, friend. It's only going to get worse if you get married and have kids. And no, asking her to go commando is not perverted, it's one extremely common. And TBH, lots of women go commando without even doing it for a sexy reason. Stefano 525 saying, is arguably one of the most important things in a relationship. If one or both sides aren't able to go about a healthy sex life, that usually leads to much bigger problems and leads to toxicity. Runs with Scissors 1 saying, are you married or have kids together? If not, I'd start packing my things and leave. Life is way too short, and there are literally millions of other people out there who love sex. But that's just my view. I've been in a few shitty relationships, and when I finally got out them, I couldn't for the life of me figure out why I put up with so much shit for so long. If you are married or have kids together, I'd suggest getting her to go to therapy with you and talk and work that shit out. The ends. Thanks for WACHING. Don't forget to subscribe us.